Marvel Studios previously on WandaVision. How did that experience prepare you for helming this film?
I loved working on WandaVision. It's one of the highlights of my career. I loved that cast, that crew, everything we got to do on that was so exciting. And I think similarly, this movie deals with family. It deals with a husband and wife and children in the same way that WandaVision tackled those very personal ideas. But it was bold stylistically in the same way that Wanda was bold. We were creating sitcom realities for WandaVision, and for this we were creating a whole new Earth and a whole new universe that was a 60s retro-futuristic New York. So both of them required similar world building as well as, I think, similar family thematics.
As a lifelong comic book fan, why do you think now is the right time to tell this version of Fantastic Four story?
Fantastic Four, I've been a huge fan since I was a kid, and they are timely and timeless characters, right? They have been in publishing now for 60 plus years because they're great characters and their stories are great. They're relatable. They are the first family of Marvel. They were a bold and original idea to center a superhero family, to center a superhero team around a family is incredible. And I think that's why they're relatable and why artists and writers want to reinvent them every decade and why filmmakers want to tackle them. But the reason why I think this is interesting is that we are putting it in the 60s, in this retro-futuristic mid-60s on a different Earth where it's close to their point of origin. And they were created in the space race, during JFK and all that optimism and looking to the stars and imagining that with the right technology and the right heart, we can conquer anything. It's the same time that Star Trek is being created. They're very similar in that way. And so by putting them back in that space race time, we could get really close to that optimism and that idealism that's a part of their DNA.
Speak to the actors portraying the Fantastic Four and why each of them was the right person for the respective roles.
We have an amazing cast. They have great chemistry, but each of them is so perfect for their individual part, in addition to just finding those amazing bonds together. Reed Richards is a scientist. He's the smartest man in the universe, but he's also a loving husband, father, best friend. He's a very complicated character who oftentimes keeps his emotions in reserve. But I needed an actor who could bring all of those elements to life, who could be a believable hero and who jumping into the fray, who was brilliant in the lab, 5 minutes away from saving the world or destroying it, and also being a loving husband and father whose emotions will, come out to the surface in wonderful ways in the film. And Pedro Pascal is that actor. He's got incredible range. He can do anything. I've known him most of my adult life since we were in our early 20s. I've seen him do amazing work on stage and on screen, and I knew that Reed would be in amazing hands, just as I knew Sue would be in amazing hands with Vanessa Kirby. She's brilliant. I've never worked with her before, but I'm a huge fan of hers. And just in meeting with her and talking about this character, I could see she had a tremendous passion for Sue and understood her. There's so much strength to Sue. There's so much charm to Sue. She's kind of Captain Kirk to Reed Spock in a way, right? She will jump into any situation. She's got great emotional intelligence. And so Vanessa was kind of the perfect person for this. And then I'd worked with Joe Quinn on Game of Thrones. He's an amazing actor. I love him. He's so alive. There's such a spark to him. He can do anything. He completely transforms from movie to movie. And I just knew that he would be great for Johnny, that there would be both all the bravado and the cockiness and the humor that you would expect from Johnny Storm, but also a soulfulness and a depth there of somebody who hasn't quite figured out who he is because he was the youngest one when he was transformed. He didn't really know who he was when his world changed and he suddenly became the Human Torch. So he's on a journey of discovery as well. And then Ebon Moss-Bachrach is a brilliant actor, just one of the best out there. And I knew in meeting him that here was this guy who had this kind of slightly kind of gruff exterior, but this warm, wonderful heart, loving family man, great, husband and father, very much Ben Grimm. Like that's absolutely who Ben is. And Ebon is very close to that. Such a funny actor, such a great dramatic actor. All four of them, I think of them as like Swiss Army knives, right? They can do everything. They have every tool that you need in order to be able to bring any scene to life. And I always think, hire the best possible actors, and you can never go wrong.
Talk about the fully immersive world that was built with large-scale sets and dozens of background players. Why was it important for you to go that route rather than rely on CGI?
I believe in practical wherever possible. If you can build a set, if you can have things that are real there, it fools the eye. It's better for the audience. It's better for the actors. it's real. It's better for us as filmmakers, to film things that are really there. You come up with more interesting shots, more interesting ways of telling a story. And I've also learned over the years, like working on Game of Thrones, that if you have something real in the foreground, that dragon will be believable behind it, and if everything is synthetic or CG or, created in a computer, it's harder to prove that. When we had the Silver Surfer come down into Times Square in the movie, that was a 2/3 scale Times Square set built on the back lot of Pinewood with 500 extras in beautiful period clothing by Alex Byrne and her team. A fantastic car, the 4 Fantastic Four actors. She was on a lift 30 feet in the air, standing on a surfboard with a microphone and her voice booming out over speakers. The only thing that was missing is that she wasn't silver. But pretty much everything else was there. And that was great for us. That was great for her. That was great for the actors, great for the background performers. It really felt like the Silver Surfer had come. And I think there's no substitute for that.
What do you hope audiences take away from the film?
The Fantastic Four have been popular for 60 plus years because they're a family. They're relatable. They feel like us. We can all understand what it's like to be in a family because we've been in one, And then it's about brothers and sisters. It's about husbands and wives. It's about children. It's about best friends. It's about all of these bonds that define our lives. And I think that's what people feel when they see it. I mean, I bring that in my love of Fantastic Four, but also I try to bring that to the film as a husband and a father myself, trying to make the film as personal and as relatable as possible.